All right, boys, what is going on? Shawnee Mac with Full Send MMA, and let's run this up, right? We have got one of the last pay-per-views of 2025, but also one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year. We got Islam Makhachev moving up to 170 to take on JDM for the welterweight title. We got Zhang Weili moving up to 125 pounds to take on Valentina Shevchenko for the flyweight title. And we're going to give you some prize picks that I like this weekend. And we're also going to throw in a couple money line picks this weekend. So, yeah, let's get right to it. All right, boys, we'll start off with this. If you want to get in on the picks with us, I post everything on Fight Night on our Instagram page, Full Send MMA's Instagram. You can see our prize picks. You can see our money line picks. And you can tail us that way. So we'll start off with this one, right? A guy that's probably the most critiqued fighter in MMA since he's been on the scene, right? Bo Nickal. Coming off the loss to RDR, where either you stayed on the Bo Nickal bandwagon or you left very quickly. The line here, 1.5 takedowns. I don't know how you don't take more on this one. I don't even know if they're going to give you a less line on this one, but I fully expect Bo to use his wrestling, go back to his bread and butter. I know Vieira's, a jiu-jitsu guy, he's a grappling guy, but I think we've seen in the past that All-American wrestling and just MMA wrestling in general usually does pretty well against straight jiu-jitsu guys. So for 3 rounds, I think 1.5 takedowns this is a lock. We're going Bo Nickal over 1.5 takedowns. That's our first pick on Prize Picks. Second pick of the night, we are going with the guy who I think with a win here deserves the next shot at the welterweight title. I'm very surprised that he took this fight, if I'm being honest with you. But I liked his reasoning for it. He said, listen, sooner or later I'm going to have to fight all of these guys anyways. So Shawn Brady taking on Michael Morales, the undefeated Michael Morales. Very, very hot young prospect in the welterweight division. A lot's to be proven, though. You know what I mean? I think his best wins are either Gilbert Burns or Neil Magny, who were, I don't want to say gatekeepers, but you kind of got to throw that term out there at this point. So he hasn't really seen anybody in the top 5. Shawn Brady, a guy that's proven at this point, just beat Leon Edwards. He's been in there with Bilal Muhammad. Improved a lot since the Bilal Muhammad fight, too. His line, 2.5 takedowns. 2.5 takedowns for a guy that's probably one of the best grapplers in the UFC. Like I said, they're not giving you the less line, so we got to go more here. I don't see how he doesn't hit that number. Morales, obviously undefeated. So I don't see him going out there and getting finished. I think maybe Brady earns a dominant decision here. Or he could. I mean, maybe he could get him out late 3rd round. But he might get 2.5 takedowns, over 2.5 takedowns in the 1st round. So I think that's another lock on Prize Picks here. Over 2.5 takedowns for Shawn Brady over Michael Morales. And let's move on to our 3rd pick here. All right, we couldn't leave out the main event, right? We gotta talk about Islam Makhachev, former number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world, moving up to take on JDM for his UFC welterweight title. The line is currently set at 18.75 minutes of fight time, which is just under 4.5 rounds. I got to go with the less here. I just think Islam is done, kind of, I don't want to say playing around because he's never done things like that, but I just think the motivation level's at an all-time high here. He's got a chance to tie Anderson Silva's win streak. He's got a chance to become a double champion, which he's always talked about. And, I mean, he's got Khabib in his corner, right? He's going to want to get him out of there. And I think less than 4.5 rounds is... He might not even need 4.5 rounds. He might get him out of there in 3 rounds. And that's no disrespect to JDM. JDM's one of the best fighters in the UFC. Obviously, he's the welterweight champion for a reason. But I just put Islam Makhachev up there with, some of the greatest athletes of all time, right? There's certain guys in certain sports that you just can't bet against. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, all these guys. When it comes down to the big moments, you just can't bet against them. So Islam Makhachev and JDM, the fight time, once again, it's set on Prize Picks at, just under 4.5 rounds. I think you got to hammer the less option here. I don't see this fight going the distance. And I could even see it going, 3 rounds or less. So 18.75 minutes of fight time is more than a generous number here. Hammer the less number on Prize Picks. And we're going with Islam Makhachev. All right, now if you're paying attention, at the end of these videos, I like to give you a couple of money line plays. I like to give you a prop every now and then. So we're going to start with this one, right? Malcolm Wellmaker taking on Cody Haton. Wellmaker was originally supposed to fight Siri City, who is probably the polar opposite of Haton. Siri City was a long, rangy kind of striker, whereas Haton likes to grapple. He's got, most of his wins, if he finishes a guy, it's by rear naked choke. I got to go with Wellmaker here. I like the line at -165. I think it's that way because, both guys are undefeated so far in the UFC. And like I said, Haton's coming in on short notice, so they don't really know how to make that line. But, if Malcolm Wellmaker stays true to his word and he's been working on his grappling defense, how do you not go with a guy that's got 3 straight vicious KOs in the UFC? Look for him to sprawl and brawl, stop. Maybe he gets taken down early, but I expect him to, like I said, sprawl and brawl and eventually land that check hook KO and, blow the roof off MSG. So I'm going with Wellmaker -165. I think that's a great price for him. If there's obviously going to be a KO prop in there somewhere as well. So if you think Wellmaker is going to get another KO, I'd probably take that one as well. All right, we got to talk about the co-main event, right? Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili moving up from 115 pounds. She vacated the title there and taking on the #1 female pound for pound fighter in Valentina Shevchenko. I gotta go with the champion here. You know what I mean? We've seen this before where Joanna Jędrzejczyk tried to move up to 125 pounds to take on Valentina. Didn't go well. Obviously, Zhang Weili, different fighter. She's got a couple of wins over Joanna, but I just don't see it happening. I got to go with Valentina here. Valentina can fight at 135 pounds if she wants to. So the size, the weight advantage, I think, especially in women's MMA, like that can play a huge part in the fight. And I think, the grappling exchanges, even if Valentina does get taken down, she's going to be able to reverse it. She's going to be able to get top position. And, she can go strike for strike with anybody in the UFC in the women's divisions. That's why she's the #1 pound for pound fighter in the, in all the women's divisions. So I think -135, that's a pretty generous line there. Probably a 5-round decision, but either way, I'm going with Valentina here. And I think -135 is a pretty good line if you're gonna lock that in right now. So that's it for the week, boys. UFC 322 goes down this weekend in New York, MSG. We got Valentina Shevchenko and Zhang Weili for the UFC strawweight title, #1 pound for pound versus #2 pound for pound, and we have got in the main event one of the best fights. It could be possibly all time, but one of the best fights you're gonna see all year. We got JDM, the UFC welterweight champion, taking on the former UFC lightweight champion and Islam Makhachev. Islam trying to become a 2-division champion and tie Anderson Silva's streak of the most wins in the UFC, most consecutive wins. And if you want to follow our picks on Fight Night, you can go to our Instagram page, Full Send MMA. We got all of our Prize Picks links there. You can tail us. You can watch. You can watch the fights, and you can also have a little bit of juice on it. Something to talk about with your boys. And as always, Shawn with Full Send MMA. Appreciate you tuning in, boys.